First off, this video is going out on Father's Day. So happy Father's Day if you're a father like me out there. I hope you have a good day or maybe a less stressful day than usual. What we have to dive into today is dealing with leaks for Nintendo Switch 2 and a little bit on Switch 1. You see, there is this thing where we used to cover a lot of rumors and leaks almost on the daily because, well, there was not a whole lot else going on. And it's been a while since we really deep dove into the rumor and leak sphere, but we have a reason today to believe that we know about a ton of projects upcoming for Switch 2 from some major franchises. And the reason is due to a certain leaker that as time keeps going on, more and more of the things they have said keep coming true. And because they keep coming true, I think it's important we revisit all the things that haven't happened yet, because these things, some of them should be happening fairly soon. The rest could be happening a year or two down the road. Now, what we have to remember, of course, is that there's no such thing as a 100% foolproof leaker out there. It just doesn't exist. And so you have to take all of this with a grain of salt, of course, but it is something that we really need to revisit, and we need to really revisit right now because there's some really exciting stuff potentially going on with the Big N. Now, before we dive into this, I want to remind you we are giving away 5 copies of Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's really exciting. To enter, all you gotta do is go down to the link in the pinned comment or the description. And it's kind of funny we're talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza because that was basically one of his leaks, or at least the idea that it would be Donkey Kong this year and not Mario. Who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Nash Weedle. He put up this post saying, I'll tell you what's happening on the dark side of the internet. It's been said for days that a new 3D Mario won't be coming this year, but Donkey Kong will be the star. I can't tell you about Mario 3D, but I've already told you about Donkey Kong, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So there you go, a hint that, we were going to get Donkey Kong and not Mario. Now, he does admit that maybe he's not the direct source on this. That's something to consider. But he basically was confirming things that other people had heard. Next up, oh man, here we go. There are pending announcements, and we will see some of these exclusively on the Nintendo Today app. So one surprise game launching this year for Switch 2, one announcement of a major game for 2026 for Switch 2, and 2 Switch game announcements, one for 2025. Now, I think that one for 2025 is going to end up being Kirby Planet Robobot HD, but we'll see. But you could say, well, how does this prove that he's been right? Well, look, I did some checking on the timestamps, and it turns out that Splatoon Raiders, while it was posted on Twitter and YouTube, it actually went live about 15 minutes earlier on the Nintendo Today app. So it actually debuted on the Nintendo Today app before getting onto their other social platforms. So that being the case, Splatoon Raiders is a surprise game. Now, is it the Switch 2 game for this year, as he points out here, a surprise game launching this year, or is it a major game for 2026 for Switch 2? We don't know. It could fit either of those criteria, but he was the first person to note that we would find out about some games first on Nintendo Today. That's pretty exciting. But that's not the only thing he's been right about. How about this? Leak Express, a port of Elden Ring, is being developed for Switch 2, where we will receive the game in a definitive edition. It seems that Virtuous could be responsible for this port. We don't know that part yet. But yeah, obviously we know Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, which is a definitive edition of the game, ended up getting announced. And there's other things out there as well, like this thing with Assassin's Creed. Said months ago in a Leak Express, I revealed some details about the release. Many mocked and said it was impossible for Shadows to come on Switch 2. And then obviously Shadows has already been rated for Switch 2, even though it's not announced. Again, not the same as a full confirmation because it's not announced yet, but you kind of get the deal. And then this most recent one, because this is almost too exact to be a guess. It's pretty crazy because he said this many, many months ago. Leak Express. There were doubts about how Switch game upgrades would arrive on Switch 2, as it seems that each company will decide. You will have to pay for Dragon Ball Kakarot, while No Man's Sky will be free. What will happen to Nintendo's own games? And the crazy thing is, we now have a free, out-of-nowhere dropped No Man's Sky update coming for Switch 2. To know that exact information that the update would be coming and it actually would be free instead of paid, or wouldn't be like a Switch 2 edition or a new version of the game, that is very specific on the details. So very clearly, Nash Weedle does seem to have some connections in the industry. So then this leads to, well, okay. So if he is turning out to be a fairly reliable person that we should be paying attention to, although again, remember, these are just rumors, then what the hell could we be talking about now? Well, let's focus in on just a handful. He's actually got a lot out there. We're going to focus on the ones that are most exciting. First up, look, we're all looking forward to the new 3D Mario game, right? We presume it's coming next year. 40th anniversary begins for Super Mario in September. We have the Mario movie next year. Yeah, we're probably getting 3D Mario next year. I think that's a pretty safe consensus for most people. So what did he have to say about 3D Mario? Well, Leak Express. Would you like to see our mustachioed hero visit worlds from other Nintendo sagas in the next Mario 3D? Well, it seems that Nintendo has already experimented with this, and it could become a reality at some point. Can you imagine Mario traveling through Hyrule or piloting an R-Wing? Now, it is notable here that this was back in 2023, and it could have been too early to say that this is definitively what's going on, but it is one of his Leak Expresses, which means he's the source on this. And it would be fascinating if there was like different worlds that we were visiting in Mario. Obviously, he brings up Hyrule and Star Fox. I think those are more guesses than anything. Although if you're going to cross over worlds into other Nintendo IP, I think Zelda is a given, right? Some sort of Hyrule world that he would have to visit. Maybe it's more like Breath of the Wild style or something, and he's got to go into there and help Link and Zelda do whatever to stop Calamity Ganon or some other evil force, right? Maybe Girahim comes back or something crazy. That could be really exciting. And obviously, like jumping into another world where now you're piloting an R-Wing alongside Fox McCloud. That would be kind of sick. Obviously, you can imagine him entering the world of Pikmin. You can imagine him entering the world of Kirby and so many other IPs that could work for this. Obviously, he uses the image here, Omniverse, that is completely made up, but it would be really cool to see Mario cross over into those worlds. And I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to run an idea like that. Again, I don't know that it's extremely likely, but it is something that we should at least entertain because, again, the guy keeps getting a bunch of stuff right, so I can't ignore it. Next up, we have a Leak Express here for the next Pikmin game. So the next Pikmin game will be a spin-off. It'll break away from the series with a new type of gameplay. It's also rumored to be changing its art style. It'll be launched in the next fiscal year, and he's talking about this fiscal year. So they talked about this last year, so this is about this fiscal year that ends in March. So this is coming, supposedly, according to him, before the end of the fiscal year. Maybe this is even one of the games announced on Nintendo Today. We'll see. Numbered titles will continue with classic gameplay. So they're not getting rid of the numbered titles. Pikmin 4, there'll be a Pikmin 5, but they're going to try a spin-off. We've had a spin-off before with that Hey Pikmin game on 3DS, so I don't think that this is like one of those impossible things because they've done a spin-off before, but it's just interesting to pay attention to. You know what's also really cool to pay attention to? Maybe one of the biggest games on Switch and one of Nintendo's largest IPs today is Animal Crossing. And he's got a leak for the next Animal Crossing that is pretty crazy. Let's go look at it. So, Leak Express. The next Animal Crossing is in development and will be an ultimate version. Now, here are the game concepts. Move around by controlling vehicles. A big city with skyscrapers. They've never done that before. Adventure missions, puzzles, and mini games, and more collaborative multiplayer. The date is 2026, along with a series. So I don't know what the series is, but the point is 2026 is the date for this supposed Animal Crossing game. And it's got these crazy concepts like cars and skyscrapers. We got to pay attention because if that also ends up being true, damn, like he's got some really exact details, just like with that Mario game. And now it's starting to be like, man, Nash Guido might be the GOAT of leakers right now. He must have like direct people at Nintendo telling him things at this point. It's the only way he can know all this stuff. And we're not done yet because he even has something to say about Metroid. So, yeah, Leak Express, those of you who follow me already know that I mentioned Metroid Prime 5 is being developed at the same time as 4. It looks like it'll feature a vertical exploration gameplay approach with altered gravity mechanics. It will obviously be exclusive to the Switch 2 and be a 2027 game. Now, again, we got to wait for this, but he already had a Metroid leak correct in the past with Metroid Dread. That was actually his original claim to fame, was calling that game and calling who was making that game and all of that. So, cool. Now, we're not done. We got two more things we got to get into. First off, how about a bunch of third-party leaks? Because we went over this in a video a while ago, but I think it's worth revisiting in a video that's just covering all of Nash Weedle's pending leaks. So we got this Leak Express here. It talks about Sea of Thieves on Switch 2, but also Psychonauts, Doom the Dark Ages, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Ninja Gaiden 4, Senyo's Saga Hellblade 2, Call of Duty 6, and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. He's saying all of this from Microsoft is coming over to Nintendo Switch 2. He doesn't give dates and reasons why, but you know what, guys? There could be a Nintendo Direct coming up, and with a Nintendo Direct coming up, it becomes more and more likely that this stuff could happen. And then we got to get to one more third-party thing before we get to the big one, the one I want I want to really talk about, and I have talked about in the past, but it excites me every time. First, we got to talk about Liza P. So he says, Leak Express, I can confirm that a Liza P port for Switch 2 is in the works. Their announcement seems like it could be made in June. Hasn't been made yet, so maybe a Nintendo Direct, but it depends on some factors in the port's development as they want to reveal a release date. So when they reveal it, they want to give a release date. So we'll see. Obviously, that's another one we got to pay attention to and just see if it ends up coming true. Liza P is a fantastic game. Then there's Zelda. So we've talked about this one before, and friend of the channel, Attack the Backlog, actually interviewed Nash Weedle about this. And we're going to be going over some of those interview quotes from Nash Weedle because to me, The Legend of Zelda is my favorite franchise. So when you start talking about things with that, you know, I start to really perk up and pay attention. And we're talking about an Ocarina of Time remake, not a remaster, not a port of the 3DS game or something. We're talking about like a from the ground remake. And oh boy, Nash Weedle said some things in that interview that right now have me stupidly excited, especially considering that Nash Weedle keeps getting more and more things correct as time moves on. So here's some quotes. So anyway, the last thing, sorry, about Zelda. Remember a couple of years ago, last year maybe, I mentioned before anyone else that they were starting a remake of Ocarina of Time, and he was one of the originating sources on that. And people went crazy. It's coming, but patience. People think games are made overnight. I even know that, well, I can't say much, but some people were asked to submit their reimagined artistic vision of the game. So I think that's what's happening. That was like a year and a half ago, so it's going to take time. So the question asked to him was, do you think it will be done by Nintendo themselves? Because wasn't it Grezzo that did the 3DS remake? I think it was Grezzo. Then the next part, there's not a separation here in the quotes. The next part's what Nash Weedle said. I've heard it's Nintendo this time. Nintendo. That would sell like crazy. Oh yeah, that would be huge. And who knows, maybe it'll release around the same time as the movie. I don't think so, but 2027 is the release, right? That's for the movie. The Mario sequel is 2026, and Zelda is 2027, right? So, yeah, basically hinting, hey, 3D Mario in 2026, the new Ocarina of Time remake in 2027 would be pretty crazy. I gotta sit here and say, Ocarina of Time is a huge part of my childhood. In fact, I probably wouldn't even be here today as a content creator if it wasn't for that game. That game inspired me to start getting into making fan websites, including Zelda Domain on geocities.com back in the day. That eventually led to me being editor-in-chief at Zelda Informer in like 2007, 2008 or whatever. And I did that for like a decade. Then that spun off into this YouTube channel after that site was bought out and closed down. So I have a lot of my current success as an adult doing this YouTube career to thank to Ocarina of Time inspiring me to even get into content creation. And the thing about it is Ocarina of Time, you know, I get chastised a lot because it's not in my top 10 Zelda games. That doesn't mean I don't think it's a fantastic game. It just means a lot of the Zelda games that came after Ocarina of Time, I liked even more. So look, there's no such thing to me as like a bad Zelda game, at least in the mainline series. So I'm just... An Ocarina of Time From the Ground remake is the kind of thing that would make me replay the game. I did replay it last year on Nintendo Switch Online. I famously did it on a YouTube Shorts live stream. I beat the game start to finish. I think I even 100%ed it or came like really close to 100%ing it. And it was nice to like revisit it and be reminded of some of the things I forgot about over the decades since I originally played the game. But also, again, you know, it wasn't as fun as it was the first time around because things never are for me when I replay games. But that's why I don't really replay. I like to keep that original memory intact because the bottom line is, you know, story elements and all that stuff, the shock and awe and the surprise of Sheik and all of that. That's what really drives me to play. But the thing about a from the ground up remake is not only could there be new story elements and new characters, there could be new things added in that enhance the experience, like not just from a visual perspective, but also they could add a new dungeon and new content. They could have voice acting get added to the game. There's so much they could end up doing with that game that to me, it ends up feeling like, man, that makes a smart direction for the future of Ocarina of Time. To the point that I want to replay it to see these worlds I played as a kid in ways I've never seen them before, and to hear the characters in ways I've never seen them before, to get new story elements and expansions on things in ways I've never seen before. The point is that, this is the kind of thing, a from the ground remake, that really makes me want to replay Ocarina of Time. So I'm stupidly excited for this entire idea of there being an Ocarina of Time remake. We've talked about it a number of times on the channel because Nash Guido's not the only reason we had to believe in this. The producer of the Legend of Zelda series, Eiji Aonuma, he's been actually like teasing this thing for years, a couple of years now at least. So in interviews and everything, he's dropped a lot of hints and teases, and even was asked outright at one point, like if it's being made, and he wouldn't deny it. And yet he was asked about a different Zelda remake being made, and he did deny that in the same interview. So it's kind of weird that he denied one but wouldn't deny the other. Aonuma has this history of Aonuma. You know, he goes around and he has a really big history of hinting future Zelda remasters and remakes and stuff. So anyways, we're going to leave it at that. Obviously, you know, you guys could choose what you want to do with this Nash Guido stuff. To me, all of it is awesome and insane and makes me smile. What it does for you, I don't know. We're just going to have to keep waiting because the guy just keeps, like, as time moves on and we get deeper into the Switch 2 era, more and more things he said over the years seem to be coming true. And these are some of the big ones he still has floating out there that, to me, a lot of it's probably going to end up being true as well. But we'll see. Okay? Again, grain of salt. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'm going to catch you in the next video.